Please join me in welcoming Lawrence Mishel.
If I speak loud, can you hear?
Yes.
This is a great podium. It makes me feel tall. I couldn't be more honored to be here and just thinking about all the different ways. One, CCLP is a partner of ours in the Economic Analysis and Research Network. They do great work. Being the speaker at the second of the series, where the first speaker was Peter Edelman, which sets a very high bar. Peter Edelman is one of the great human beings in this world. So even to be on the same list as Peter is an honor. You know, do any lawyers in the room? You know, being in a crowd of do-good lawyers is great. And I really appreciate it. I raised one myself who works at Philadelphia Legal Aid. She's a fierce litigator. I won't be able to say my full phrase for her, but it is, don't mess with Julia. She had her first case where she won a wage theft case, and the employer attorney tried to intimidate her. That didn't work. And then the judge was saying that she didn't deserve lawyer's fees. But of course my daughter had the text of the law that said that, you know, of course she did, and then got it. So I feel very honored to be among all you legal aid types, and probably many former and current. I want to also acknowledge other partners of ours, Carol Hedges, Karen White, others in the network here. So it's really, really, really great to be here. I'm going to, and I honor you for inviting an economist. Genius. You know, the definition of an economist is someone good at math but doesn't have enough personality to become an accountant. So here we are. My son is an accountant. I really shouldn't. And he's got more personality than I do. So, you know, the title of my talk today is that we are in the wages moment. It's something I've been waiting for and working for many decades, which is to have the issue of what do people get paid and why they are not paid sufficiently to be, I don't know, thanks. You know, the front burner part of the conversation about economic policy. And it will be one of the main topics in the presidential election next year. You hear about it from President Obama, you hear about it from the Democratic candidates, and you hear about it from the GOP as well. And today I'm going to go over sort of the evolution of this, how we got to where people are finally paying attention to wages, and I'm going to go over what they're saying and some of the strengths and weaknesses thereof. But it is an important moment, and it's an important moment for organizations like EPI and CCLP. And I had the distinct pleasure of reading CCLP's State of Work in Colorado 2014, and I have read the draft of the 2015 version, which you have not yet seen, which is an extraordinary piece of work, one of the best I've seen from any state group, and it does a fabulous job, will be a great resource to you at this time when wages, in fact, are the moment. Now, I have prepared a Castro-length speech, but I'll try to cut it down. Not because I'm not a communist, but just because you guys have to get to work, I guess. So it's easy to understand why wages are important, and sometimes to cut through it, really important to just be able to say things simply. When people spend money, they get it because of the wages they earn. I mean, I don't need a lot of complicated equations to tell people that the middle class depends upon wages for what it spends. People don't have wealth that produces income. Their wealth is a house if they have wealth, right? They don't get a lot of dividends and capital gains. And unlike what people say, low-income households also depend primarily on wage income and EITC income, which is related to wages. 70% of the income of the bottom fifth is wage and wage-related income. So we will not rebuild the middle class. We will not lift people out of poverty. We will not promote social opportunity and mobility. We will not create shared prosperity unless we get robust wage growth from the bottom through the vast majority. And I don't really care what happens at the top. They manage to take care of themselves. So, that is the key economic policy issue, which is how to get robust wage growth. So how do I know it's the wages moment? Well, one is having attended this White House summit on worker voice on Wednesday, which was a convening of workers and organizers and labor leaders and business leaders and various types of worker advocates to talk about the importance of worker voice, which, what the heck does worker voice mean, right? Unfortunately, it's a too broad term, but it means the highest level of worker voice is collective bargaining, right? I mean, worker voice without true collective bargaining is collective begging, right? So that's not really what we need. We need collective bargaining where people have some leverage, where people are organized to participate in their democracy, and we will never have robust wage growth or the democracy we need unless we actually rebuild the collective bargaining system in the country. That's what I believe. Now, there's a lot of other types of worker voice that is emerging, worker centers, and these are all good things, and they were all discussed. But what I noticed was that the president not only gave a full-bodied endorsement of collective bargaining and the power of unions, but he acknowledged that wages have been flatlining for many years. Now, if you ever hear a speech from an administration spokesperson, the first part is canned. It's, we saved the country. I mean, they brag, and they should. We saved the country from a Great Depression. Unemployment used to be 10%, now it's 5%. We've had job growth for 52 months, yada, 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 all true. And it's not usual for incumbents to say, well, there's this big problem, right? Especially in your 7th year in office, right? So acknowledging that means that it's a big deal and it's a very good thing. And it also reflects reality, as we know, and you shouldn't deny it. The Bureau of Labor Statistics just reported in a study that the bottom 87% of the workforce since 2007 has had stagnant or falling wages. And the bottom 80% of the workforce has had stagnant or falling compensation, all wages and benefits together. So this is undeniable. CCLP's report shows that it's happened to the bottom 80% of workers in Colorado. I mean, basically everything that I think is happening to the nation is also happening in Colorado, as documented by the State of Working Colorado. So if you think that you're different, you're not. And then there's all the facts that you'll ever need right there. But the wage stagnation is not just something that happened in the Great Recession. It was also prevalent in the recovery under George W. Bush from 2002 to 2007, when wages started to stagnate for both college grads, high school grads, the median worker, low-wage workers were basically the bottom 80%. And wages have been stagnant for the middle-class workers for most of the last 40 years, except for a short period of time in the late 1990s. So wages have only grown for the median worker. You know, the median worker is half the people make more, half the people make less, right? That worker, the median wage is up around 9% since 1973. Almost all of that 9% came in the late 1990s. So we have actually lived a generation with wage stagnation. It's gotten even worse in the 2000s and became even more broad. So, you know, first they came for the blue collar workers, and then they came for the white collar workers. That's really my summary of the last 40 years. And so now it's pretty much everybody. And you know, we have the highest profits ever, the stock market booming. I mean, the top 1% doing pretty well. I won't go into all those statistics. Now, as noted, the Economic Policy Institute, in particular, me and my colleague and best friend, former colleague and best friend, Jared Bernstein, highlighted the gap between productivity and wage growth, which we did first in 1994. And since 1973, productivity, the output of goods and services, the expansion of the pie per hour worked, has grown about 72%, while the median hourly compensation, all wages and benefits. Anything I say about wages is also true for wages and benefits, and it's all inflation adjusted, you know, just in case there's any misunderstandings. You know, the median hourly compensation rose around 9%, productivity up 72. Since 2000, the productivity is up 22%, and the hourly compensation up about 2%. And most of all that was between 2000 and 2002, which is really the carryover from the 1990s boom. And this is very important to note because it really, I mean, I think too many people believe that somehow workers and their families, the broad middle class, is not doing well because somehow the economy is broken. The economy is not broken. The economy was designed to do this. And I only started adopting that kind of language a while ago. It's broken from the point of view of a working class family. It was designed, however, to skim the income from everybody to the top through conscious policies, decisions to do things or to not do things, right? And the biggest power is to not make changes. Because, you know, all you lawyers, you all understand, any law that just stays the same decade after decade, eventually there's enough accountants and lawyers, you know, people that used to regulate who then know how to get around things, to make almost anything impotent. And that's kind of what happens. So if you can't keep up to date with labor standards and labor policies, the International Labor Relations Act, then eventually it will become impotent, as it essentially has. So we have created lots of income and wealth. It just hasn't gotten to the vast majority. In the future, we will be creating lots of income and wealth. That is not the problem. The problem is how to get that wealth to the vast majority. Now, I don't want to get my PhD in economics revoked. That union card comes with this, I have to say, productivity growth, the more the better. Good. But it is not sufficient. It is not sufficient. That is the point. I'm glad for more growth. I'm glad for more productivity. We fight for that. You know, sometimes the centrists will attack the left as being not